Hello, Mike from Canavan Wealth. It is Tuesday, October 10th. Time for Mike Reads the Journal. Let's jump into it. What a difference a week makes. Markets up 1.1 today. The bigger news was the last 2 days. Friday and Monday were really kind of pretty outlier investment days. Friday we started down almost negative 0.8. We're up by like 1.5 midday. I think we closed 1.3 up. Yesterday, kind of a similar story, not as dramatic. I think we're down 0.5, ended up 0.8 or something. Then today, kind of up all day. Of course, there's a lot of time still in the trading day, so we'll see. But the 5-day, 3.6% over the last 5 days certainly have a long way to come back to the top or even really the middle of kind of recent highs. But we'll just have to see. Of course, if you watch my monthly note, which I will link somewhere here, you'll know that I'm really watching the 10-year Treasury yield down to 4.6. So what we talked about in that monthly note, is this kind of bond sell-off that really just doesn't make any sense. And we are seeing that come down a little bit. Of course, it's only dropped 0.2, certainly not down to the 4.2, 4.3 that we saw it for, several months kind of earlier this year. So still watching that. Can't cover the news without talking about what's going on in Israel. I don't think I have anything too constructive to say about the actual conflict itself, other than my heart kind of bleeds for everyone involved in it, especially the civilians. And I think that this will undoubtedly set back the recent progress that has been made in Israel decades. In terms of an economic impact, I think for now, it's not going to have a huge impact unless this were to spiral into something bigger, which it certainly has the potential to do. I will let people who know more about what they're talking about cover that topic, though. All right. This is actually a good segue into, an ongoing conversation on the channel around national debt, right? But it starts with this country, which is Ireland, won the global tax game and is swimming in money. Now they're going to stop swimming here really soon. But from 2015 to really this year, Ireland has benefited from the fact that they have a very low corporate tax rate. So a lot of countries use it as a tax haven. They pay their taxes there. There is, of course, legislation led recently by Biden, but this has been going on for years around getting a international minimum tax, meaning like everyone charges at least this much to corporations, and then encourage corporations to pay the taxes in the country where they're actually selling and providing the services and goods, which if the tax rates are everywhere, that's easier to do. Ireland will be setting their tax rate to that this year, but they're seeing billions in kind of surplus because of all these companies that have moved there. But they know that this will be coming to an end. So they're actually setting up this kind of windfall fund that they're going to be using from the beginning. What they are not doing, despite operating in a surplus, is paying down their debt. So they're about 60% of GDP. If you watch my debt video, you'll kind of hopefully understand why we measure this of GDP. And this is actually pretty good for a kind of developed nation. But and it's been coming down. And again, that's probably not because they've been paying off their debt, but because their GDP has been going up. And so they're not paying off their debt. And I'm going to release a follow-up video to that debt video, which is why countries don't have any intention of paying off their debt, and quite frankly, why they shouldn't. That's going to be probably a month out at least, because I have two other videos. I have one coming out this Thursday and then two others on an unrelated topic before that video comes out. But subscribe to the channel if you want to be there for when that comes out. And then this follow-up to that debt video as well is rising interest rates means deficits finally matter. This is talking about investors specifically, why investors are paying attention to the deficit now because of, like my debt video said, the real problem with the deficit right now is where interest rates are, or at least one major problem of it. So another good article there. And then the last one, I just kind of want to end on an up note here, which is these two articles about Texas and New York. So Texas cities are booming, but their offices are the most vacant. Texas office vacancy is 25%. Compared to New York's, which has typically lately been getting the bad press around office vacancy, actually at 12%, right? Now, there's certain districts in New York that I think are seeing a tougher way with this move to remote work. They're really blaming, if you read the article, they're blaming Texas's office vacancy on overdevelopment. That's what this chart here is. And compared to San Francisco, which gets all of the bad news lately at 17%. There's this huge narrative going on right now in America about politics and cities, red cities, blue cities, which are doing better, what is. And this is just my opinion. It's all garbage, right? Cities go through this natural boom and bust cycle all the time. And I often describe it like a pendulum, which I use a lot on the channel, where maybe they get a little too liberal and they get a little too conservative, right? And it's just the normal course of human attempts to make their cities better. And, you know, red city like Chicago got bad press for the longest time with crime and everything. Seems to be an up and coming city now. New York, of course, one of the bluest of blue cities, has not been getting great press lately, but this article shows that they're really doing fantastic in terms of business and reopening after the pandemic. You know, Texas, do I blame it on their politics? No, they built too much. And now they're paying the price for that. And they could go through some real tough times if these office vacancy rates turn into something nasty. But the world is not as political and the parties are not as far apart as everyone wants you to believe. The simple truth is our two-party system keeps the parties shockingly close together. What they say and what their constituents is often what you're hearing, right? Is what the voters are saying and what they actually drive towards when it comes to policy are two very different things. So just like wanted to kind of end on this up note of the world is not especially as we go into the election, the world is not as political, and your neighbor that may be red or you blue or whatever it is not as different as you are. I know there's a weird segue from talk about Texas vacancy rates, but you know, cities go through this boom and bust cycle. It's just the nature of cities. That is it. It was really a remarkable week. Unfortunately, this is one of the remarkable things, and we're gonna have to see how that plays out. But this kind of bond sell-off and hopefully returning to normalcy there, and then the stock market seems to be really surging off these lows. So we'll just have to see how it all turns out. I hope this has been informative, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.